Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jodi Calahoo Stonehouse, and I am the Alberta NDP Critic for Environment, Parks, and Climate Resilience. I am honored to be joined by two guests today, my colleague from the Alberta NDP Critic for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, Brooks Arcand-Paul, as well as Chief Allan, Chief of the Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation. We are here today to demand accountability after a series of devastating leaks from oil sands facilities in Northern Alberta. During some of these incidents, laws were broken, consultation with First Nations did not occur, and repeated attempts were made to downplay the severity of what has happened. Look at the leak from the Curl oil sands facility on November 13th, the third from that exact facility this year. A total of 670,000 litres were released into the river. That, in the sediment, it was 4 times the legal limit. I asked the Minister of Energy, Brian Jean, last week about this incident, and he chalked it up as muddy water. That is disgusting, and that is disrespectful. And I said, this is the third incident. In the first, the leakage from Curl tailings ponds contained arsenic, dissolved metals, and carcinogenic hydrocarbons. In the second, a draining pond full of pollutants overflowed and more than 5 million litres of contaminant water leaked into the environment. We have also seen multiple leaks from Suncor Energy Fort Hills oil sands project, including one in April that saw 6 million litres of water enter the Athabasca River watershed, and that water contained twice the legal limit of solids in it. This is devastating for wildlife, for the local environment, for the water, and for the people who drink it, including the people of Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation. And as you will hear from the chief in a moment, they were never properly consulted. Neither of the local MLAs contacted ACFN about the Curl leaks. One of the MLAs is actually Energy Minister Brian Jean, who was elected to be the voice of these impacted First Nations communities and who has been negligent in his duties as the minister. That's right, this is Minister Jean's community. He was elected to represent the people here, and he still can't be bothered to pick up the phone. The Alberta Energy Regulator, which has also failed repeatedly to inform the public that these incidents are happening. And frankly, given all this, I think the AER should be reviewed and overhauled, and a new leadership should be put in place. I want to be clear, this should be a public review, not a secretive review that the UCP had their paid friend David Yeager to conduct behind closed doors, handing him a sole source contract. Albertans deserve unbiased public oversight. The AER is Minister Jean's responsibility and that of the Environment Minister, Rebecca Schultz. And it is also required to share information with the Minister of Indigenous Relations because it does not have the ability to determine what is adequate consultation with First Nations. And this information is right in the AER's governing documents. The ministers are also supposed to keep regular contact on existing and emerging issues involving the AER. Yet, the minister isn't doing that. Instead, he's claiming it was just muddy water when all the evidence points that it is much more severe than that. Instead of talking to ACFN, Brian Jean went to Curl himself and declared it a top-notch on social media earlier this month. This is insulting and likely illegal on several fronts. If the head of the AER won't do his job, if Brian Jean won't do his job, then I think they both need to resign. Our people, the water, the wildlife, and their health and safety are far too important. Thank you, and I will now turn things over to Chief Allan.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And in light of what's happening in our community, ACFN has been raising the concerns about potential of tailings spills in the oil sands project to the Alberta Energy Regulator for years. At every opportunity, the AER has diminished or dismissed all of our concerns in regards to what's going on. And when it comes to tailings water or surface water, We have great concern because of the high levels of cancer rates in the community. We've raised this issue back in 2007. It continues on today. There was supposed to be some public health studies conducted, which was never ever done. This will determine what is going on in the oil sands, and it's all been, whitewashed by the UCP government and industry in regards to everything is good. But when you know for a fact that when you walk into an oil sands site or to any oil sands facility, the first thing they promote is safety first is the top priority. If that's the top priority, why isn't it safety first for the environment where our people are continuing to have ailments that are not tracked and not known for our community of 1,200 people, and the cancer rates are way high, skin irritation is high, rheumatoid arthritis is high, asthma is high. What's going on in our community, and why isn't it that public health is not being recognized here when it comes to the development of major oil industry in our region? I find it very alarming that they would get third party to do a overhaul or an oversight of them with Deloitte and everything, and come back to say that the AER, there's nothing wrong with the AER and everything that they're doing is good. And if that's the case, why did it take them 10 months to notify us of a spill that's going on? And why is it that other spills that are happening and that it's been going on for years and only now it's coming to light? But we'll speak to those matters in weeks to come.
Thank you, Chief. And now we will move to any questions that you might have for any of us.
So we'll open up to questions. For those joining by Zoom, it's either the raise hand function or *9 by phone. We'll start with questions in the room.
Who's to blame for this? Is it the AER, the government, Mr. Jean? Who do we blame?
Well, I think we've been very clear. It is the AER and Minister Jean who are responsible for the oversight. They are responsible.
Why is that?
Because it's their responsibility as the government and as the energy regulator to ensure that industry is being upheld to the legal standards and that they are fulfilling their responsibilities.
So we'll go now to questions on the line. Again, the raise hand function or *9. Please state your name and affiliation off the top.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'd like to ask a little bit about the David Yeager-led review of the AER, and I'll address this to both Chief Adam and to you, Jodi. Where, in your mind, does this review fall short, and what would a proper review of the AER look like?
Thank you for your question. Chief, would you like to speak to this first?
Sure.
All right.
I think when it comes to the AER and their policies that are out there, they have to do a better job at it because they're failing big time. Their job is to inform the communities if there's any harmful bacteria or harmful chemicals that are in the ecosystem, and we were supposed to be the first to be notified. It turns out that we are the last to be notified, and if the AER had their way with industry, I don't think they would even notify us of today yet of what they found. It was just by pure luck that we had to, bring this issue to the surface to where it's at and everything, and it's by God's grace, it happened this way, and we don't have no credibility for the AER of Alberta. We don't have no credibility for this government that runs the AER because they're failing to protect the community of Fort Chip.
Great answer, Chief. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Bob?
I was hoping to hear perhaps from Jodi on what she'd like to see from this review. The Chief Adam didn't really address it too much specifically.
Well, what we need is public oversight that isn't biased. We need to ensure that the water levels are safe, that communities are consulted, that members are notified when there is a leak immediately, and that all is done to ensure the safety of the land, the water, and the people, which is evident that is not currently happening.
We'll do one more pass for questions.
Okay,
Again, it's
Chief would
raised-
like
oh,
to
sorry.
add to that as well.
What was the question again?
Should be able to unmute, Bob.
Yep, got it. Chief, I was just wondering what you would like to see in terms of a review of the AER. As you know, there is one right now. It appears to be being led by one man, David Yeager. We don't know a lot or anything, in fact, about what his terms of reference are, who he's talking to. I'm just wondering what you would like to see, sir.
I would like the AER to immediately cease what they're doing because they're not doing its job. Everything that they're pumping out is flawed. It's flawed information to the public. They're not credible enough to do anything. And at this point in time, I think the federal government should step in and go with the DFO and regulate this whole regime and do it properly because there are a lot of missing gaps in the AER and this can't continue to go on because of the high levels of cancer rates that are continuing to happen in our community that's being unanswered, and there is no link to health concerns dealing with the oil sands because there is no mechanism in place when it comes to human health, and nobody wants to take that responsibility, nor does AHS or Health Canada wants to take that responsibility because industry keeps paying the lobbyists to keep them quiet about what's going on.
Do you have a follow-up with that, Bob?
Sure. The AER is conducting an investigation into the two releases earlier this spring from their Curl site. I'm wondering if either of you have any thoughts on the length of time that this investigation has taken, or if you've been consulted, or if you've been questioned or anything to do with this investigation.
Well, obviously, it's been far too long, and the systemic incompetency has displayed that there are 4 times the legal level, as well as arsenic, high levels of arsenic, which is a carcinogen, which causes cancer. So it is very dangerous, and I will have the chief also speak to this.
Yeah, it's a process that's in place, and we got to do what we have to correct it, because if we don't, it's going to continue on and it's going to get worse. As taxpayers, you should understand that whatever happens here, it's going to fall directly on the taxpayers' footstep, because right now, when you look at this whole regime, for reclamation and everything, it was stated by a researcher that it's going to cost $132 billion to clean up the oil sands. And right now, I don't even think they have $1 billion in the coffer. So if that's the case, you have to ask yourself as Albertans, and you have to ask yourself as Canadians, where is the money going to come from when all this is being done? Because at some point in time, we're going to have to reclaim this area, and when that happens, somebody's going to pay the bill.
Great point.
Perfect. We'll do one more pass for questions. Seeing none, that concludes today's press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.